Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Brand Bosses podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we have Katie Clark on the podcast. Katie is a powerhouse single mom of 2 young boys and the boss behind a booming jewelry business. She's the definition of doing it all and doing it with style. From her daily grind of running a business to navigating life with her kiddos, Katie brings her followers along for the ride, whether she's sharing her outfit of the days, whipping up a quick dinner, tackling DIY projects, or just keeping it real with the ups and downs of motherhood. Katie's authentic, no-filter approach has earned her a loyal following of close to 95,000 followers. Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yes, and you're down in Houston, is that right?
Yes, I live in Houston, Texas, born and raised.
Wow, so you've lived there your whole life?
Yes, I literally have lived here my whole life. I went to college here, and now I live in like the suburbs of Houston. But I like it. It's nice besides the humidity.
Yeah, I was just down in Austin and Dallas on a work/play trip, and I hadn't been down there in like probably 10 years, so it was really fun to visit.
Yeah, it's like summer here already.
Oh my gosh, I know. It was like 80s in Dallas, and it was just glorious. And so you've been running your jewelry business for a couple of years now. So let's go back to the start. What made you want to launch into the jewelry business?
Well, I had been working in a jewelry store since college. I was working there from like my sophomore, junior year, and I really found a passion there. I loved helping people with jewelry purchases, and I just learned a lot while I was working there. After I had my second baby, Maddox, I was kind of looking for a way to spend more time with my kids. Retail is very demanding, especially during holidays, which as a mom, I'm trying to be with my kids. So, I'd seen a lot of people doing social media and being able to take a step back from work, supplement income. So I thought, I knew I could do it too. I had always kind of dabbled with posting online. I used to post on YouTube like once a week, like when my first son was born, and it was just harder to like get traction on online back in the day. Like before TikTok, the algorithm was hard to break into.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of people breaking into it through TikTok, and specifically this one influencer named Maya Knight. She had these 2 young daughters, and she was posting these videos, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna post every day until I can try to take a step back from working so much. My intent was never to leave my job. I never thought that would be in the cards for me. Well, fast forward about a year and a half or 2 years after I really started posting on TikTok, I just kind of had amassed this following, and it kind of started as working mom content. And I was just sharing being a working mom. My audience really liked that. And so I loved sharing it because I didn't see a lot of that when I would go online. It was more like stay-at-home mom content. I didn't see a lot of moms who also managed to work as well. So I was really excited to share that. But people started asking, what do you do for work? What is your job? That's when jewelry and my social media started to meet each other, because then I was sharing a lot of jewelry, and then people were coming to me for jewelry things like, hey, you work in a jewelry store, can you help me with this? And that kind of snowballed into, I designed a ring for myself that I was going to wear for my kids, 2-stone gemstone ring. It's on my website now. And I posted it on my Instagram, and I said, what do you guys think? I had never gotten so many messages about something ever. My inbox was flooded. It's like people were just like so excited. Like, I want one. So I said, okay, let me do a pre-order list. If you want one of these rings, here's a pre-order list. And I ended up getting over 800 people who signed up. And I put the price point on there because I, of course, was wary that, hey, this is fine jewelry, so it does have a bit of a higher price point. But I had 800 people say, hey, I want one of these rings, and I was just taken aback. And that's where I said, wait, first of all, it would have been really hard to manage all of those custom orders, like while working in the store. And I kind of just started getting this idea of like, what if I start my own jewelry company? I mean, that's what I love. That's what I know. By that time, I had been working in the fine jewelry industry for like 8 years. So I felt like I had a really good amount of knowledge, and it just felt like everything happened like as it was supposed to. So I made the really tough decision to step away from my job and start my own jewelry company to allow me to still do what I love, which is, designing and creating fine jewelry while still being able to spend a lot of time with my family. And now, of course, in hindsight, I'm so happy it happened that way, because I don't know what I would do if I was still, working with the demands of retail.
Yeah.
So I launched my company on March 10th of 2023. And
Wow.
here we are, a little over 2 years later, and I love it. It's great, and I've learned a lot in that time.
Yeah, that's quite the story. And so I'm curious, since you were, in the jewelry business prior, did this open up some doors in terms of like suppliers and connections that you needed to start your own?
So luckily, because I was already so integrated in the industry and I put feelers out before I stepped away, I kind of already had all of that lined up. I did have to, because I worked in a very small store. I went to my boss at the time and I was like, hey, like, this is kind of what's going on. In a way, it felt like I felt bad for being like, hey, I think I'm going to go start my own. You taught me everything I know, and now I'm going to go use it for my own. And, the owner of the store was always like a dad to me, and he understood and he saw that like this is what's best for her. And so he, supported me in, using some of our same suppliers for the gemstones, for the, casting. He totally supported me there, which was great, because I don't think I would have been able to really do it without his full support, because there would have been a lot of crossover. I would have had to find a lot of new suppliers and everything. But I feel like because working there, I kind of already had everything lined up. I knew where to go for what I needed.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome, because my first thought was, I went on your website and, we're not talking everybody like Target jewelry. Like, this is high end, really nice jewelry. And so my first thought when you said this was, how in the world do you even like go about starting something like that? But it makes a lot of sense that you had some of those open doors, some of those connections, which is so critical. But I also kind of, I appreciate how you handled that situation, because I've been in a similar spot where it's like you're finally branching on your own, and, you don't want to turn your back on the people that have led you this far.
You don't want to step on their toes because they supported you so much.
Right.
You want to be respectful. And I was prepared, for him to maybe say, "Ooh, I don't know," like that's, but it didn't turn out that way. So I was really grateful for that.
Yeah. And I think being an entrepreneur, like, you see that happen. Even like now I have some people who have worked for me that are now starting their own, marketing agency. And part of it is like, it's tough to see, but I think the other part of it too is like, being an entrepreneur, you want more entrepreneurs. You want people to be doing what they love.
Yeah,
and so I'm sure part of it too is like he noticed that glimmer in your eye, per se, of like you finding your passion. Yeah, that's so awesome. And so now you're over 2 years in. And so how has that growth been for you? You said you're on TikTok, maybe some other social media. Is that your main revenue driver?
Definitely the brand awareness lives heavily on TikTok and Instagram. I think a lot of my community is integrated in the personal side of the business too. It is very much a personal brand. After all, the name is my literal name. But I think that it's kind of one of those things that I wouldn't directly say that something like TikTok is like my main revenue driver. I think just showing up every day in my normal day-to-day things, motherhood, lifestyle, like you mentioned, the outfit of the day, just showing up like that ends up trickling into the jewelry company, because it's just one of those things that, when somebody decides, I want to upgrade my engagement ring, or I want to redesign whatever the thought may be, then it's like, oh, I know someone who does that. And so it kind of all lives in the same sphere. While I can't say TikTok is directly the income driver for my business, it definitely it helps. I do notice when I talk about jewelry more, my jewelry company, my website, clicks will go up. So I try to like bring it into my content a lot. I try to talk about it and try to just combine it and still keep an air of like that working mom lifestyle. While I am not the traditional working mom now, I don't leave the house from 9 to 5. I still work. And so I do think some of my followers, they do still find that relatability there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And also, I appreciate that you're showing people like your lifestyle, considering it is, your name. And that was another question I had was, did you ever think about naming the business something else other than your name?
No, I don't. When I decided to branch off, it just felt like it made sense because the people who were coming with me on the journey, the people who were supporting me just knew me by my name and it just felt right. I don't think I ever sat back and was like, oh, like considering another name. It just felt right. So I'm glad I did. And it's not the worst name to have. It works. So I'm happy with it.
No, I think it's perfect. And I saw on your LinkedIn bio, did you have some sort of collaboration with Macy's?
Yeah, I actually, it's funny because my social media, I've always, especially on Instagram, I try to keep separate my personal and the jewelry company. Really on Instagram, I try to keep them separate. I don't want to overwhelm my followers who are there for the personal stuff with the fine jewelry stuff. I totally recognize some people are just not interested, and that's okay. That's why I wanted to keep it over there. But the first partnership I ever acquired with my jewelry company's presence was with Macy's, and that was such a fun opportunity. They had something called the Style Crew, and basically they have programs that support entrepreneurs. So I got to partner with them to kind of share that. And that was exciting because I'd never gotten like a partnership for my business before. It had always been like, if I got a brand partnership, it would be for my personal stuff. So that was a fun milestone to hit for the business.
Yeah, and so where did you see that, or did they find you?
I actually have a management team that helps me procure all of my brand deals. They do outreach for me. I usually will tell them products I'm loving or things that I just use in my house, companies I would love to work with, and they do that brand outreach. And I do keep an email in my bio in case anybody brands want to come to me. So I think in this case, I do believe Macy's approached my management team. And then, you share all those analytics and we see if it's going to be a good fit. And then we'll get those brand deals like that, which is exciting.
Well,
So they help me a lot. I manage too much. I can't be in my inbox like doing outreach there too.
Right.
It's that would put me over the edge.
Yeah, and that's funny that you mentioned that because I think probably by the time that this airs, that's actually a branch of our business that we're thinking about starting.
Oh,
Is
wow.
something in talent, just because we've had quite a few people reach out to us about it. But yeah, I think what you're saying is it's among the similar thread of everything else that we do. Social newsletters, it's like when you're a business owner, you have to focus on the bottom line and the growth, right? And some of those nitty gritty things you have to hand off, otherwise nothing's ever going to work.
Yeah, it's good to outsource things that you're not an expert in. One thing I've definitely learned in the time of starting my business is pay someone to do the thing that you don't know how to do. There are always going to be certain things that are worth learning and worth doing yourself, but there are some things like if you're not an expert at like crafting an email newsletter, there are so many amazing people out there who can read the analytics for you on platforms like Klaviyo, who can craft these amazing newsletters like that versus me sitting down. It would take me a few hours a week to get my newsletters out. Instead, I have my, girl Natalie. She does all my marketing emails. She's awesome. Her company is FAE Creative, and she's great. And she helps me with that. And I could do it, but where is my time better spent? Creating content and growing my brand and platform, or crafting the email marketing?
Right.
You have to decide.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit about that time management because as your bio said, you're a mom of two. And you're running this business. So that's a lot. That is a lot to juggle. So tell me a little bit about how you go about doing that.
Wish I could sit here and tell you some plan, some time schedule that I follow. Like, well, I block out. I just try my best. I do what needs to get done. I'm a big believer in like a written to-do list. I write out the things that need to get done a day. There's always like the everyday daily tasks. Like every day I look in my email. Every day I load the dishwasher and take the kids to school. Like there's the things that have to happen every day. But then there's other things like if I had a video due, so I have to block out that time for the content creation where it will be best to do when the kids aren't here. You know, I'll look at my schedule in advance, see what if I have calls on the calendar. I love Google Calendar. Also, my management team is so good about they put everything on the calendar. So when I open it, you know, I can see what do I have due for content? Do I have any consultations booked out that week? Where can I fit this and that in? And I'll know like, okay, on Thursday I have a really free afternoon. So then it's like, okay, if I have a video due, I'll film it that day. Or if I have like some errands that need to get run. You know, I don't want to say I like always like fly by the seat of my pants, but I take things day by day and I try to get done everything I need in the day. I write my written to-do list and somehow it all works out.
Yeah, that's how it goes, right?
I know. Yeah, especially with like young kids, like, you know, you can plan so much, but at the end of the day, you just kind of have to be flexible.
Yeah. And I'm curious, so your jewelry business, do you get to see everything before it gets sent to the customer, or is it pretty much like from the supplier to the consumer?
Yes. So I am hands-on with everything. That is like an additional cost because I have everything here first. But I think it's worth it because I like the quality control and I like packaging it myself. So basically the jewelry company is like consisted of two parts. There's curated pieces that I curate from suppliers, certain necklaces, earrings, pieces like that. Then there's the custom pieces. So all of the wedding bands, the 2-stone gemstone pieces, and there's a few others that are considered custom that my jeweler here in Houston makes himself.
Wow.
So we have a small team. It's myself, a CAD designer, and the jeweler. And so anything that goes through the custom, you know, I'm in constant communication with the CAD designer, the jeweler. We're designing it together. We're doing tweaks. And then when the piece is finished, I usually will go see him like once or twice a week, pick up all of my pieces once I get them, quality control on each one, photo, video of each one, and then we ship them out. Just depending on the client's schedule. And then for the curated pieces, it's the same. The supplier, whatever piece it is, comes to me first. I quality control and I package it and ship it out.
Wow, that's really interesting. And so you have a hands-on jeweler, like boots on the ground, which is really interesting. And so are a majority of the people that buy your product, would you say a majority are in like Texas or the Houston area, or
No, it is all over the world. I've done pieces in numerous countries. Mainly it would be in the United States. I see most sales coming from, but tons of states. It is not just Texas at all, which I find very interesting because I just love seeing, you know, the reach. And I always ask people, especially on a consultation call, you know, how did you hear about me?
Yeah.
Because it intrigues me to know where my clientele is coming from. How did they hear? Online jewelry design is something that I think people are being more open to. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting because my brother recently got engaged, and we actually happened to show up when he was getting the ring in like a parking lot. This jeweler had flown in from San Diego and literally brought the ring herself. And so it was a really special moment. And like my husband and I did not know he was getting engaged, so it was a surprise moment. But we were talking to her, and she was saying that, you know, jewelers, it's kind of a lost art almost today because it seems like maybe the numbers are declining, or she was kind of alluding to the fact where good jewelers are hard to come by. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I attend a show each year. It's called JCK. It's in Las Vegas. It's huge in the jewelry industry. You have suppliers from all over the world, and people go there to buy, people go for education. It's just an amazing event to attend. And I remember sitting in on a seminar last year that was just talking about the lack of bench jewelers available in the market. And, you know, the bench jeweler is the one who sits on the bench and handcrafts the piece. And a lot of the bench jewelers, you know, there's going to be like a designer behind the bench jeweler, and there's a team there.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a lost art, and I know in the industry they offer tons of scholarships for people who want to pursue being a bench jeweler as a career. There's a lot of opportunities to obtain scholarships and grow in that field because it is an area where we need more people.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find someone great to work with. It is an art, and every artist is going to have a certain tone in which they work. So with my jeweler, I have known him and worked with him for over 10 years. So I really understand his art and I understand him. So we work really well together. But it's kind of like it's a relationship. You have to have like a good match and good energies together.
Mm-hmm.
And we need more of them. So if you are interested in becoming a bench jeweler, check out GIA's resources on how you could take a course to become one, because we
Yeah.
need more.
Would you say, because you've been in the jewelry business, like you can spot pretty quickly quality versus, not quality in
A
terms of
hundred percent.
jewelry?
You
Yeah.
can see it, I can feel it. I can hold a piece and I can tell you if it's usually like real or not. It's just now, you're getting in a gray area when you're talking about like the gemstones. Gemstones can be a lot harder to spot, but there's tons of equipment and testing you can do. But when it comes to just overall like quality, yeah, you can see it and you can feel it right off the bat. Just holding it in your hands, feeling the weight, seeing the sheen and the return of light. It's fun when you go to these shows like JCK and you get to be very hands-on. It's good because, if you're trying to source like a new piece, you want to feel it and see it first. You don't just want to blindly get something.
Yeah.
And so by getting to be hands-on at shows like at JCK, you can really feel the quality.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so interesting. And are a lot of your suppliers domestic or international?
All of them are domestic. I
Domestic. Oh, wow.
don't have very many. I try to keep it really tight. It's hard to spark a new relationship with a new
Mm-hmm.
supplier just because, there's a lot of trust there. You want to trust like where the piece is being created. You want to trust where they're sourcing everything. And that comes with time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a relationship that you build up with, and then you guys trust each other, and it's good. So I keep my relationships, I hold them to a really high standard, and
Mm-hmm.
but they're all domestic. Yeah,
Yeah. Is that fairly normal, would you say, in your industry?
there's a lot of people who source overseas. Of course,
Okay.
you can get a much lower price point by sourcing overseas.
Mm-hmm.
That comes with its own um, set of issues you could incur: delayed shipping time, up and down pricing. What do you call it when it comes taxes? The taxes and
Yeah.
duties.
Mm-hmm.
So it has its own things, but I prefer to source domestically, not only for the quality control, but
Mm-hmm.
I also just I don't like dealing with delayed shipping times. That's a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're just like, you have no idea. It could be like 10, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's too
Yeah.
long. I don't like I like my turnaround time, I try to keep between 4 and 6 weeks at max.
Okay. Yeah, and what's really interesting is I would imagine, kind of like we're talking about, like there's a lot of maybe fabrication of the quality and things like that. And what I appreciate about what you're saying is, you every time that you can touch the piece of jewelry, whether it's from from the supplier before it gets to the client, like you have that, and I think that's really special, and like that can be translated into any business really, because a lot of people maybe give that up just for sake of price, for
Oh,
the
definitely.
ability to
Definitely.
make more. And so I think that's really cool that you do that.
It's important to me. And, every now and then I'll have someone say, hey, like, why is the price what it is?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of one of those things you figure out after you start a business, like, how much like
Mm-hmm.
cost truly goes, because it's not just the piece, it's not just the
Right.
labor and the supplies, it's the website, it's the packaging, it's the marketing efforts. All of these things encompass your bottom line for a piece.
Right.
So when it comes to, getting the piece into my hands, yes, it adds a little bit more. I have to account for that when it comes to pricing, but to me, it makes all the difference because I'm not I'm just not interested in like, it's always going to be quality over quantity for me.
Yeah.
So if it means paying a little extra to have it here in my hands first, packaging it myself, I'm going to take on that extra expense. And, not to say that could never change in the future. Like, maybe, the growth, who knows? But for now, I'm very happy with the way that, I do it.
Yeah, and what a key like selling point for you to be able to say, I see every single piece of jewelry. I've been in this business. I can literally hold it and know if it's quality or not. Like that is so huge in terms of your marketing and your selling point. Yeah, that's so fascinating.
I think it matters. That's what I would want if I were buying a piece of jewelry, especially if, it's somebody who I was going through online. I would want to know that they're taking those steps to ensure the quality of it. Because this is, for a lot of people, a big investment, especially something like a wedding band or an engagement ring. I want that extra step to be taken.
Yeah. And in terms of the social side, are you doing kind of the UGC per se of your page? Like, are you the one who's like showing the jewelry, things like that, or do you hire that out?
So it's always been me. I do all of the content creation. Recently, I did dabble with hiring on a marketing/content creation team. My friend here in Houston owns an incredible agency called Roy's Digital Media. They are so amazing at what they do. For me, I wanted to try it out and see the quality they created was top tier. At the end of the day, though, it kind of just came down to, is this an expense that I'm really reaping a lot of benefits from?
Yeah.
Where something with Google Ads, for instance, is very trackable. You can very clearly see where your spend is being, used per se. When it came to the marketing and the content creation, they were creating amazing content, but it was very hard for me to tell if there was, if that was bringing in new customers, I guess you could say. And it kind of felt like I kind of had some dead time in my schedule where I was like, I could definitely be using this to create some content. So I decided to just step away just for now. I want to take a little break since the summer is coming up because I know I'm going to have more free time. So I can spend a little more time on content creation, but using them for the holiday season was so amazing because I was really busy then and they were able to really fill in the gaps of helping me create some content that otherwise I might have just not been posting for a few days. So I think for me, using them for like maybe August through January is going to be great because they go in, I give them my jewelry, they take all the pictures and videos, and then they turn over with great quality content. And it was very helpful for my busier time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it can ebb and flow for sure.
Yeah, it's an ebb and flow. If I had just like, an endless marketing budget, sure, I would use them all year. But, you have to know when to tweak your expenses. And marketing is the most expensive part of running the business. So for now, I'm going to continue doing the content creation. But I like it. It's fun. I find there's art to it, and it's nice to create a reel or a set of photos that I think my audience enjoys and receives well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I'm just so impressed by you because I just can't imagine being a mom of 2 young boys. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then running like this is a growing business, and you have your hands in so many different aspects of the business. And so how has this been for you? Have you ever hit a point where you're just like, I don't, is this jewelry business right for me at this time? Like how has this been for you?
It's been good. I definitely at times feel like this past year, I do feel like I've hit a little bit of a plateau just with personal challenges in my life. It's been hard to go into growth mode. I've had to dial back on areas where I would have loved to go into overdrive and hit like start growing, doing more events. I just didn't have the wherewithal within me to do that this past year. Just too many personal challenges, being a mom, all of these things on the back end of my own life. So I think just learning to like accept that you're not always going to be able to it's not always going to be this like upward growth pattern. It's not going to be linear. There are going to be times where it's okay to just plateau and like ride the wave for a little bit. And I know in the future there is going to be a time where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's grow this thing. Let's do more events. Let's up the marketing budget, whatever it may be. I know that's coming in the future. Right now, I've been having to accept like kind of riding on the plateau, but that's been hard to deal with because I don't want to plateau. I want to keep growing, but you also have to, take inventory of how are you doing mentally with the load of just everything in life. And it's not always going to be that linear upward spike. I think a lot of people think it should be like, hey, if I'm not like growing every, month or year, well, what's going on? Well, when you run a smaller business, there's just going to be times that it goes up and down, and just always being able to step back and assess like, okay, what happened here? Why was there a dip? And sometimes it's really obvious and sometimes it's not, but just having a good support system, having people on your team to kind of go along with you helps.
Yeah. And I think I'm the same way. Like, there's seasons for everything, you know what I mean? And I was having this discussion with my husband last night, and he was like, don't you want more clients? Don't you want more? And I'm kind of like, yes, but, like, I think you and I share this where there becomes a time when it's like, okay, now it's time to go. Now we hit the gas pedal and we run. Like, heck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there's times when it's like, I could go out and market myself and get 10 new clients if I wanted, but do I really want to sacrifice, like, my comfort and some of this peace that I'm having right now, knowing that this potentially won't be here in another 6 months, right?
Totally. I think that's one of the great things about being an entrepreneur is being able to define what comfort and success means for you. Some
Exactly.
people, it means hitting that gas pedal all the time. It means going 120% every single day. You wake up and you grind, and it's how many clients can I get? How much money can I make?
Right.
XYZ. And I know for me personally, it sounds like for you as well, it's kind of like those, of course, more clients and more money is great, but at what sacrifice for my comfort and my time? I'm going to choose sometimes to step back, respect my boundaries, and say, hey, like, yeah, I have less clients right now, but I have time to decompress, and I have time to enjoy my children being young, and that's okay with me right now. There's going to be seasons for, like we just said, going full throttle and taking a step back and being like, I'm going to reassess my comfort. I'm going to dial it back just for a little bit.
Yeah. No, I couldn't have said it any better. And so I'm curious, what would you say is motivating for you? Because doing what you do, being an entrepreneur, being a mom of two, like having these busy days, I'm sure, as you mentioned, it gets a little bit weary. So what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is integrating myself in different communities that uplift me. I find when I isolate myself and I stay home a lot, my motivation tends to dwindle. Yeah. But when I'm out, when I, whether it be at my church or if it's at the JCK show, just immersing myself in the communities that lift me up, that's what gets me motivated. JCK I've brought up a few times, but that's coming up in June, and I am just so excited because every time I come off that trip, I am like, let's go, like, I'm gonna do this. I have all these new design ideas. I'm just like so gassed up, and then, when it comes to like, other areas of my life, just being in the community just makes me excited and hopeful and motivated. If you're an entrepreneur or you work from home, you definitely can attest to if you're just at home and you're kind of isolating and you're like trying to grind on your own, you start to kind of fall into this pit of like, I don't know, for me, I get kind of down when I do that. So I try to get out there and, just be in person as much as I can. That's why I do love doing events. But like I was saying, this isn't really the season for me to be getting out and doing events. Hopefully that will come again in the future, but that's a whole other can of worms. That's hard to find events to even, I don't know, but that's definitely where I find motivation. And of course, in my online community, that's a whole community in and of itself. They are so uplifting. There's so many amazing women online who are running their own business, who are moms. Maybe they're not, but there's just so many great women online who put out content that is truly uplifting and inspiring. And I love them for it because I know people have told me, oh, no, thank you for blah, blah, blah. And if I can just make one person feel like excited or inspired, amazing. Because I know I have so many creators I turn to for that like daily dose of like motivation and inspiration. And I really value my online community.
Yeah. And I think you and I share that mindset of like, if we help one, that's what matters. And I think
Yeah.
part of that, though, comes from a grounding. And it sounds like your grounding is your faith. And I share that with you. And I looked at your page before this, and I love how you do exactly what you're saying. You share the day to day of being, this mom entrepreneur. And then you also share some faith, and you share the highs and the lows. And I just feel like it's, so many people come to me and they're like, I just don't know what to share on my social media. And what I appreciate about what you do is you're just sharing your day to day. You're sharing your life in a really tangible and I guess motivating way.
I really appreciate that. I try to just be as transparent as I can with like what I do on a day to day, and also just like what inspires me and what keeps me going. And in this season of life, I've had quite a few people reach out to me and say like, what keeps you going? Like how are you finding positive in, the trials and tribulations of life? And like, my first thing I'm going to tell them is like my faith, like God, I could not do everything I do without God right next to me. I make an effort to be a bit like go to church every week. I try to stay a part of my Bible study group. I try to study on my own. The way it just will light you up and like keep you going even when you feel like you may be going through some of the darkest times. You like that, my faith is that light at the end of the tunnel for me in everything that I do. And I've teetered with sharing that online a little bit, because I never want my audience to feel like I overwhelm, but it's a huge part of my life, so I have to share it here and there. And I really enjoy sharing it. And I mean, how could I not? It is literally the thing that keeps me going.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I feel like, the right audience will resonate with that and really appreciate that.
Definitely. And that's like kind of something with content creation you have to kind of learn to just accept is like, okay, I'm not going to be like everyone's cup of tea. There are going to be people who don't enjoy that. But if that's the case, that's okay. Like that's okay. Then I'm not the creator for you. But I have to share what's true to me, and I have to stay authentic to myself. And so sharing that kind of stuff, while at first I was like kind of scared to share it, I'm really glad I did, because I found like a new connection with a lot of like my audience that I didn't have before. And just some of the conversations I've had with people have been just like life-changing. Really good conversations have come from sharing that part of my life.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm so proud of you for doing that, because that is hard to do. And so this conversation has just been so great. I've loved getting to know you and learning more about your jewelry business and just the industry as a whole. This is definitely something I have not tapped into before. So it's really interesting to hear. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yes.
And so where can people find you and your jewelry?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun. I love getting to talk to somebody else who's just like an entrepreneur and like getting out there. You can find my jewelry website is www.katieclark.co. I'm on TikTok as katieclark.co, and on Instagram you can find my jewelry company at katieclark.co, and my personal page is katiedclark0. Sometimes I post on YouTube too, but I'm trying to get more into that long form content. But that is where I am at online. Also, you can reach me by email if you have any questions about jewelry, katie@katieclark.co. All of my links are in my bios, so there shouldn't be any problem trying to reach me.
All right, Katie. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.